Hi, welcome to this week's edition of How I Choose to Live My Life. My name is Leslie Donaldson. I'm with ITR Polygraph, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode. If you would like to follow along and pick up from where we last left off, you can go to our YouTube channel at ITR Polygraph, hit videos, and they all come up. Or you can hit the playlist. At the top it says playlist, so hit playlist, and then this series comes up. And I've been busy putting them not just into videos, but into a sequence for this particular series so that people can follow along from the very beginning. So for those of you who have been following along, then you would know that today is probably a really kind of a hard day. Not kind of a hard day. Today's the day that we talk about what did happen after my mom passed away and my dad was widowed. My dad was a very successful businessman. He was very wealthy, and he was a very eligible bachelor. He was very handsome. He was very charismatic. He was very worldly. He had much to offer. A new special partner that I would want him to have, that anybody would want somebody to have. Now, here's the thing. What we're talking about today, and the person that I'm talking about today, I'm absolutely able to say that person's name. I'm able to talk about this entire situation because unfortunately, what did happen to my father after my mom passed away was public knowledge across Canada, in the newspapers, on the TV, 6 o'clock news. And I'll get to all that. But that, and sadly, one further, it isn't just that it's on the internet, and it's also at the courthouse. This is of public record. Anybody can look this up. So what I am going to continue to say in my series, this is as if I'm writing a book about my life, but it's a video series. Not everybody wants me to do this series. Not everybody wants me to talk about what happened or say their name or say what happened and how they were connected to what happened. But I am. Other than what happened to my dad, and during that turmoil, nobody has referred to me as a liar. People don't refer to me as a liar. In fact, it's one of the reasons why Ken and I are entrusted with the service of polygraph. We're in the service of telling the truth, helping somebody prove the truth and tell their truth. My truth wasn't told. My justice wasn't told. This book is helping me to have my voice that should have been heard. And it's a time just as these when in the world right now, everybody wants their voice to be heard, but there's injustice. I went the legal route with what transpired. But that didn't, how that came to be, my voice was not heard. It's that simple. So this is a way for my voice to be heard and also to tell my story so that this doesn't happen to you. Please, people, be conscious of your family, and when your father or your mother or your brother or your sister or anybody becomes widowed, they are vulnerable to the new partner. Sometimes that can go really well, sometimes not so much. So in the last episode, I let you know that I had told my dad, I want him to find somebody new. I want him to have a wonderful relationship. I want him to be able to continue to have a happy life and experience love and life and everything. And so that was in September. So September, October, November, December, not long, my father, I go over to his house one day, and I'm sitting at the table, and he wants to talk to me, and he says to me, he says, Leslie, I want you to know that I've met someone. And I'm like, and I have to tell you, even right now, speaking about it, my heart is like beating out of my chest, because from here on out, it's a bit hard for me to discuss what all happens. So he tells me that he's met someone, and I say, well, that's great. Who is she? And what is she about? And tell me about her. And he starts off and says, and I said, well, how did you meet and everything? And he says to me, he says, you know, Leslie, I met her many, many years ago. I met your mom, and I were at a similar function through the UFL Foods, and it was a convention, and her husband was working for one of the meatpacking companies there, and was an accountant for them, and so he and his wife were there. And so my mom and dad met this couple, and that couple is named Irene and John Telfer from when they lived in Ontario. And so they said, no, I met her many, many, many years ago, so I knew her, and that's why it was all so quick. And I said, okay, so she must not then be with her husband, is what I was asking. And he says, he says, she's married. He says she's married, and she's still married, but she's in an unhappy relationship. She's been in his words, from what she said to him, was, I'm in a loveless relationship. He's an accountant, and he's controlling, and he controls all the money, and anything I spend, I have to give all the receipts. And there came a time too, and he's saying, you know, she feels stuck in this relationship. And he went one further, because she had gone one further. And she said to him that she questioned his sexuality. So she's like, save me, Sandy, from this wretched marriage. My dad, who I always saw as a knight in shining armor for me, I can only imagine what she thought with my dad, and how he could save her and give her this new life and da 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 da. Well, no, you know what? You know what's got me riled up is she was married. What? I said to my dad, what do you think you're doing with a married woman? If I was writing a book, I wouldn't be able to portray, not to portray, but to be able, yes, portray the emotion I was feeling, because I went from absolutely losing my mind, saying to my dad, there is no way you can date a married woman. Do you know what I do for a living? I do polygraph. I am 1000% against cheating on your partner. You want to cheat? There's the door. You feel like you want somebody else? There's the door. But you don't cheat, stay in this relationship, have a partner, a husband here, and then come to my dad's house and be with my dad. I said no. And then I went from angry to, I must have sat at his kitchen table and literally sobbed. The amount of time that went by From the time I got there to the time I left was about 4 hours. I was crying and sobbing the whole time. And I said to him this, Dad, this is not going to end well. I think she's coming for your estate, and I think you need to be prepared. You need to make a proper will. You need to get your affairs in order and put your estate in order, because I did not trust this woman who was willing to have an affair on her husband, keep this husband, and have my dad on the side. I don't trust that kind of woman's character. And anybody who knows me knows that and knows what we stand for. So then, what does happen after that? I'll let you know next week. Tune in and we'll talk then. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Have a great day.